Hey, Greysteel Nation. Sully here with the Barbell Prescription. And this week, we're returning to our series on the basics of programming. Now, if you guys find this kind of content useful, please give us a like. That really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe and you'll get more great information on being an athlete of aging. Now, if you haven't seen our earlier installments on programming, you're going to want to get caught up. In part 1, we talked about the nature of programming itself and the primary training variable, consistency. In part 2, we took a look at the novice linear progression and why it's like the envelope licking game. In part 3, we examined intermediate programming with an emphasis on the heavy, light, medium structure. Today, we're going to talk about an option for athletes who have run out the heavy, light, medium programming and need a programming approach that will extend their gains, but at a greater cost in time and complexity. It's time to discuss the 4-day split, which is the next structure in our natural history of training timeline. Now, before we go anywhere with this, I want to make 2 critical observations. First, the vast majority of athletes of aging just don't need this level of complexity. I've been doing this for a long time now, and it's increasingly obvious to me that most athletes of aging who train for health and performance simply do not need more complicated programming than HLM or some similar intermediate structure. Of course, as we emphasized in the previous video of this series, heavy, light, medium is infinitely adaptable and can change over time to fit the athlete. But unless she wants to go beyond training for general health and performance and progress to the level of competition or mastery, just going to be just fine on HLM. Life itself will coach you into this reality. If you want to compete or attain mastery, you're going for a level of commitment to training that most athletes aren't going to sign up for. Most athletes of aging are training for life, for the extreme sport of aging well, for their grandchildren, for their tennis game, for competitive swimming, or, say, nude volleyball. 4-day splits are for people who want to take training itself to another level. Statistically speaking, that's probably not you, but it could be. And understanding how advanced training works will improve your understanding of how training works. So I think this material is valuable to all athletes. The second critical observation I want to make about the 4-day split is that it really is a 4-day program. When we talked about novice and intermediate structures, I noted that they could be implemented on a 2-day per week schedule, spreading them out over more than one calendar week. So for example, while heavy, light, medium is nominally a 3-day intermediate program, it can be implemented as follows: Monday heavy, Friday light, Monday medium, Friday heavy, Monday light, and so on. So it is conceivable in theory that we might do something similar with a 4-day split. But as the old saying goes, in theory and practice are the same, but in practice they're different. Trying to spread a 4-day split over longer than a calendar week is not only cumbersome, it also subverts one of the benefits of the structure, an increased training density. Remember, we're going to a 4-day split because the HLM structure is no longer adequate to drive progress, despite the athlete's total commitment and consistency, dedicated attention to recovery factors, and at least a few iterations of running it out and incorporating other techniques to extend progress, all as outlined in the Barbell Prescription. The 4-day split is an advanced programming approach that demands more of the athlete than even an advanced HLM program. And that includes an increase in training density, which isn't going to happen in less than 4 days a week. Now, the 4-day split has multiple avatars, but the version I favor is the heavy, light, upper-lower split, and I will limit my exposition to that structure. Simply put, the 4-day split separates upper from lower body training and gives each of the big 4 exercises a heavy day and a light day, meaning each exercise is trained twice a week. Thus, A heavy press day is paired with a light bench day, both upper body. And a heavy squat day is paired with a light deadlift day, both lower body. In fact, let's just do this. Day 1 is for heavy press, light bench, and other upper body work. Day 2 is the heavy squat, along with the light dead and other lower body work. Day 3 brings us to the heavy bench, the light overhead press, and upper body work. And finally, Day 4 is for heavy deads, light squats, and lower body work. Now, by other work, I mean accessory exercises used to address particular strength and movement issues and round out volume. I'm talking about stuff like chins, pull-ups, curls, dips, lat pull-downs for the upper body, and leg presses, sled work, back extensions, glute ham raises, and so on for lower body. Conditioning is best applied after lower body workouts and on days when the amount of rest before the next workout will be longest. When initializing the 4-day split, moving from heavy, light, medium, it is best to keep your set rep schemes more or less the same. Big sudden changes are not a good idea in programming as a general rule. So for example, if your HLM heavy day had you doing a heavy triple for the squat followed by 3 sets of 5 reps at decreasing weight, well, that's what you should do on your 4-day split heavy squat light dead day. And let your light or medium day deadlift plan from your heavy, light, medium structure guide your programming for deads on that day as well. The opposite will be true for a heavy dead light squat day, and so on. So hey guys, what about your programming? Tell us about it in the comments. We'd always love to hear your thoughts. And if you'd like to share with a great community of athletes of aging, consider becoming a patron on Patreon and joining our closed group, Patrons of Greysteel. You'll find details in the link, which I hope shows up here somewhere. Now, as the great 20th century philosopher Detective Martin Riggs once said,
I don't make things complicated. That's just the way things get all by themselves.
these are some of the most profound words ever uttered, in my opinion. Now, as the program progresses, it will inevitably become more complex to accommodate progress. Over time, heavy day targets will progress to triples, doubles, and finally singles. And you may have to progress in a convoluted fashion analogous to running it out, as presented in the barbell prescription for heavy, light, medium, and Texas method structures. In due course, another level of complexity can be added in the form of variant or conjugate movements used for the light day exercises. These are alternative forms that allow for training the movement at lower weight, but still at a productive level of stress. Here's just one example of a 4-week heavy light split structure. Week 1 begins with day 1, which is heavy press, light bench. But in this example, we do heavy press followed by a narrow grip bench press. On day 2, squat day, we do heavy squats followed by Romanian deadlifts, a deadlift variant. On day 3, we do heavy bench followed by a press variant, the pin press. And on day 4, heavy dead, light squat day, we do heavy deads and box squats. We begin week 2 with day 1, always heavy press day, followed by the dynamic effort bench. Day 2 is heavy squats and snatch grip deadlifts. Day 3 is the heavy bench and jerks. And day 4 is heavy deads and dynamic effort squats. Week 3 continues the pattern with heavy press on day 1, followed by dumbbell bench presses. Day 2 is heavy squats and rack pulls, another deadlift variant. Day 3 is the heavy bench and dumbbell overhead presses. And day 4 is heavy deads and front squats. We finish up this 4-week program with week 3. Day 1 is heavy press and pause bench presses. Day 2 is heavy squats and deficit deadlifts. Day 3 is the heavy bench and Olympic presses. And day 4 is heavy deads and pause squats. Obviously, the selection of which light day variants to use will be highly athlete specific. And this decision represents one of those times where having an experienced coach who knows you is very valuable. When I'm in a cycle like this, I actually use the standard movements loaded at lighter weight for my light day exercise in the final week. That's just where my own program has evolved to. Now, if the look of that table suggests to you some sort of longer-term training macro cycle amenable to even further increases in complexity, well, then I like the way you think. By the time the program evolves to this point, you will be in a very small minority of masters lifters, almost exclusively limited to competitive strength athletes. And you should be thinking about the possibility of block programming, a modality which can easily be constructed on a 4-day split substrate. We'll talk about that next time. Thanks for watching.